Because we have a very special guest. Public service really runs in their blood. Despite being a political neophyte, he won the votes of more than 108,000 Ilocanos in the May 2022 elections.
And he has hit the ground running because on his first official day as Congressman, he already filed 10 House bills, including the Guide Bill, E-Governance Act, and free legal assistance for police and soldiers. Coming from a family of leaders and public servants, he is among the youngest lawmakers in the Philippines today at 28 years old, but he looks much younger than that.
This is no other than the eldest son of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., Ilocos Norte 1st District Representative, Congressman Sandro Marcos.
Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Sir Roy. Good morning, Wandina. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So, how would you characterize your journey to Congress? Was it bumpy? Was it challenging? Or was it fun?
All of the above? No, I made sure that I was well prepared enough for it by, of course, working with Majority Leader and soon-to-be Speaker Martin Romualdez. I worked in his office for 2.5 years. So I think that prepared me. I don't think there's anything that can prepare you for a political campaign kapag ikaw yung kandidato. So that in some sense was bumpy, but it was rewarding. I enjoyed it, and I'm happy that I was able to come out victorious.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Sandro, looking back at that time still, did you encounter any difficulties that you weren't expecting at all? Or if not, then are there any memorable moments that you can share with us?
I always knew it would be hard. Sa totoo lang, malakas din yung kalaban ko. So, I knew that we would have had to work. Okay. But I had a very good team with me. The assistance of course, our Senator Amy, my cousin Matt, and my whole team, my whole campaign team. So it was really a journey that I enjoyed, and I just hope now to be able to deliver.
Did you get any advice from your parents about like how to handle the campaign and meeting
just
people?
To make sure that you start from the grassroots up.
Okay.
Puntahan mo yung malayo na barangay, no matter how small, no matter how big, just to make sure that you do it, and to keep your head down.
Okay, it's good advice.
Anyway, I should say he has the benefit of experienced politicians in the family. But again, speaking of family, what are the things you are most proud of your parents?
Well, my dad is now president. That's something to be proud of, I think.
Definitely.
No, they really do bring me so much pride. And my mom does not like to be in the limelight, but if only you saw how hard she worked during the campaign, everything that she did behind the scenes. We love her dearly. And so yes, I'm proud of both of them.
About your father, what is like as a parent, how would you describe him as a father?
Chill lang. Chill lang. When we were younger, he was a little strict. I guess because bata lang kami. But when we grew older, when I was in college, naging opposite. Yung naging stricto yung nanay ko. My dad
became your friend.
So my dad's logic naman is that he made sure we grew up the right way. When you reach a certain age, ang decision nyo na. So I already taught you what's right, what's wrong. You know what to do. I trust you enough to do the right thing. I'll let you make that decision.
Okay.
Any memorable experience na masasabi mo na, kaya mo nasabi that chill lang siya?
In what way is he chill?
In what way is he chill?
So many instances But I guess the night before election day, hindi ako nakatulog. Mga 2 araw. I would keep on walking back and forth in the room. I said, Dad, ako congressman lang, ikaw pangulo tinatakbo mo, ba't ang ano mo lang? Ba't ang chill mo lang? He said, you know, when you've done this long enough, you have to understand that basta alam mo sa sarili mo, ginawa mo lahat. Lahat na kaya mo. You did everything that you could. You made sure everything fell in the right places. There's not much more you can do than that. So just accept whatever result that comes out, accept it with dignity, accept it with pride, knowing that you did your utmost
So
best.
I guess at some point you have to let go of any kind of control on the results, right?
I don't know if he was just pretending to be cool. I'm sure deep down
He
nervous
was
din yan.
worried, yeah. But
Butterflies in the stomach.
Definitely.
yeah, and
For all of us.
well, still on that experience, looking back, what was going through your mind, and what were you feeling when you were taking your oath of office, administered by no less than your dad, the president?
It was surreal. It was surreal. I know my lolo did it for my dad, which is why my dad wanted to do it for me. And he said naman, I was supposed to do it in Ilocos. But sinabi niya sa akin, how often can I tell someone that I, the president, administered the oath to my own son?
Diba?
So nakipag-usap, and he said, can I be the one? So I was super happy. Special moment.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was you took your oath in Malacanang?
I did, yes.
And that's where your lolo and your dad lived for quite a long time.
Yes, yes. Ako naman hindi ako titira dyan.
We'll talk about that.
Sure.
So we'd like to know, was there anything that changed in your lifestyle routine when you became a congressman?
Maybe not as much as congressman, but more as presidential son.
Okay, tell us about it.
Nagulat ako sa daming PSG na sumasama sa akin ngayon.
Okay.
I remember last weekend, I tried to go to the mall to watch a movie.
Oh, you did?
Alam mo naman, punong-puno yung mga mall kapag weekend. So, I tried to be as low-key as possible. But ang hirap talaga when you have... And I said, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Oh, really?
Nahihiya talaga ako. I understand that it's necessary. I know kailangan talaga. But it's gonna take some adjustment.
Yeah. What was it like for you before? Because you were already a public figure, so people recognize you, I'm sure, when you go out.
Public figure, yes, but not as much as I am now, I guess, or as because of my dad. So iba talaga. Iba talaga. I remember in 2016, 2017, I was allowed to drive anywhere by myself.
Wow.
No security. My parents wouldn't mind. And then, I guess, the more I went on, wala, hindi na pwede.
So is that something you're ready to give up for now?
I don't think I have much of a choice.
So how are you doing that? How are you trying to accept that fact? Because that's like your freedom to move around. It's gonna be gone.
It's something that I knew I had to prepare for. Especially when my dad announced, you always have to think that he's gonna win. So I came to terms with it pretty quickly. Tama what my former boss said, na wag ka na lang tumakas sa mga PSG, wag mo na gayahin yung tatay mo at yung tita mo. Wag mo na silang gayahin, gawin mo na lang kaibigan para mabait sila sa iyo. So that's, you know,
give you some leeway about certain things.
That's the route that I decided to take.
Okay.
Unlike my father and my tita Aimee, they would have competitions kung sinong may mas magandang idea kung paano makatakas sa PSG.
Okay.
Well, you're saying now that as presidential son, you have to live with increased security, and of course, as a public figure, in this time, panahon ngayon ng social media, and you're very much visible in social media, your Instagram account over 900K followers. How do you handle negative criticisms or bashing in the media, if there are any?
I don't really, there's no such thing as a politician with a 100% approval rating. That's never gonna happen. So I just take it in stride. It's a two-pronged thing. You always have to be open to criticism as a public servant because that's what makes you better. At the same time, there will be a faction of people that no matter what you do or no matter what you say, will always go against what you say. If I say the sky is blue, they will tell you the sky is red. Kasi ganun lang talaga sila. At the same time though, it should be taken with a grain of salt because that's the only way you can better yourself as a politician, as a public servant, by listening to the people who think you're not doing enough. I just think that should be juxtaposed with what you see on the ground. Because iba talaga kapag nararamdaman yung tao kung ano yung ginagawa mo. I always say performance is the best equalizer. And nakikita mo naman talaga kapag may utang na loob yung tao sa'yo sa mga ginagawa mo.
Yeah, no? I think it takes a lot of inner strength to be able to face criticism like that.
Either that or you just get used to it.
Yeah. So anyway, another quality that we've noticed about you is that you still practice that Filipino way of showing respect, pagmano. And we'd like to know how come you're very magalang like that, and how can we instill this quality among the youth today, do you think?
To tell you the truth, I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary. We're all taught to do that as kids. So it's just stuck with me, and I don't think anyone else is any different. Maybe I don't know any better, but I always think it's just a sign of respect.
Okay, it's very good. It's
to our
very good.
elders.
It's very nice to see, because I think the reason we're asking this is because it's not very common nowadays among the youth. So, yeah. It's a
Although
good
may mga
example.
tao din na when I was campaigning, lumalapit ako sa kanila, nagmamanaw. Hoy, hindi pa ako ganun katanda.
Ayaw. On the other hand,
Don't ever do that to me again.
Oh, well, so it's a double-edged sword. So to
But no, I mean, I think everyone knows naman that it's a sign of respect.
Yes,
And that, we're taught to do that as kids.
I know. And
sa,
I really
sa
wish.
mga probinsya, marami pa rin. Pero dito sa Manila mukhang that's a disappearing practice.
It
among
is, it
people.
is.
Well, I hope it's a tradition that never disappears.
Yes.
I think it's a very good tradition.
I agree.
And, showing respect to the elderly must be a value that we must continue to cherish.
Yes.
And speaking of values and traditions, you are now a lawmaker, a congressman. But if you're not wearing that kind of hat, what would you want to do and what do you enjoy doing?
Like any 28-year-old, hindi na ako bata, but I'm not, a full adult yet, I guess you could say, at 28. Or rather, an old adult. Pwede ko naman yan siya, matagal na tayo magkakilala.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. But like any other 28-year-old, I'm into sports. I like seeing my friends, spending time with family, going on trips with them if I can. Normal, nothing out of the ordinary. I love cooking, which not a lot of people know about me, yes. Yeah.
What kind of dishes would you want to cook?
Iba-iba. I live alone now, but when I was in the UK, I can't eat out every day, ang mahal. So, actually, may usapan kami with my roommates is, I'd cook, because I enjoy it anyway, I'd cook 3 times a week. Sila yung bibili ng groceries.
What kind of food did you used to prepare?
A lot.
Adobo, no?
Yes, I used to cook
Classic.
them sinigang. But then, also not Filipino food. I can cook Italian, I can cook Spanish, I can cook iba-iba.
Okay.
All right.
Something you learned today.
Going through your Instagram pictures, I've also seen you doing as DJ. You love music.
I love
like
music.
Your father.
Yes, I
What
love
kind of
music.
music do you love? Is it different?
Everything, everything. From jazz to rock to blues to house to hip hop, kahit ano. I got that from my dad. I got that from my dad. He, ever since. Actually, our victory gift to him na nga is we got him a vinyl player with speakers. Sometimes in the morning, mga 7:30, before he has his breakfast, I'll find him. He's just, nakaupo lang siya, ganito, listening to his record player that we got him.
All right.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I'm happy that we were able to get that. But we really got that from my dad. All of us, me and my brothers all love music because of him. And yes, I used to DJ. I still kind of do, but not really anymore. Yeah, I don't think ever nagkaroon yung batasan ng isang congressman DJ. But
First time, right?
no, I mean, I used to do it for my parents when I was in school. I said, Mom, Dad, taas nyo naman yung allowance ko. And they said, no. if you want to make more, if you want to have more money, go make it. And I was already DJing, so I ended up having it as a side job. I worked for an event management company for, I think, the better part of 3 years. Part of which was DJing at their events. So that was my way of making more money while I was in school. And I guess it was the best job ever because I just got paid to have fun. Because it's something that I would do anyway. So that's how I picked it up. I've been doing it since I was 12 years old, so 16 years na.
Wow.
Ng usapan, I'm going to ask a question that could be controversial.
Okay.
Still a young adult, as you said, not yet a full adult, but when do you think is the right time for you to, are you considering now to settle down and build a family of your own?
Absolutely not. Ang layo pa. No. I think wala pa yan sa isip ko. I just plan on I guess working hard here in Congress, but enjoying my youth while I can.
But you do have some...
You're seeing someone.
You're seeing someone?
Okay, so contrary to what people might believe, sa dami kong nakita sa social media, that's actually, I am single. So, sa mga taong nagtitiktok dyan, don't believe everything you see. Alam mo yung nangyari is, karamihan sa mga kaibigan ko na babae, ginawang item. Kung sino-sino. And I mean, these are my, they're
Friends.
my closest friends ever since. I guess that's bound to happen. So that's okay for me.
And because of this na ginawang items, ang dami mong follower na heartbroken.
Ay, fans.
Reading at
The
the comments.
I don't know what to say to that.
Let's make him more uncomfortable, Pablo.
I don't know what to say to that. But I mean, I don't even know if it comes with the territory of being the son of the president. I don't know. I don't know if nangyari ba to kay Baste. I don't have no idea. Actually, it did. It did.
Yes,
It did?
yes,
It did. I
of
remember
course.
it did. Yeah. Stuff like that to me is not important. It's not. I don't. I always like to remind people, please, hindi ako artista. Please, I'm a public servant. I'm here to make sure that, Ilocos Norte, lalo na yung first district, gets everything that they need and develops in the way that we need it to develop. I've never been, I have friends that are ang dami kong kaibigan na nasa showbiz, but I've never been one to associate myself with being an artista or being like that. And I hope people understand that, I understand that it's part of it. And I guess having that following on social media, but no matter what, hindi ako magiging artista. And it's just, that's no disrespect to the profession, but I can't act, I can't sing. I'm not, I'm not talented in that respect. I'd rather stick to what I think I'm better at.
On to more serious
On to
things
more serious
naman.
matters.
Kasi naman.
As I said before, you hit the ground running. You filed 10 bills just June 30.
10. Wow.
So that shows you how serious he is as a legislator. Pero how do you want to be known as a lawmaker?
The idea of 10 bills is a nice one, but I think the focus on quality over quantity. I think sometimes there's an issue where, and I guess because it's quantifiable, but you know, this congressman, 300 bills authored, 400 bills co-authored, kung ano-ano. How many became laws? How useful was the law that they passed? You know, is it a robust law that will not be ratified or changed in the coming administrations? It's hard to think in those terms because it's easy to grasp a number. But I think 10 is a good number, but it has to be 10
Really good ones.
good bills. And I'd rather have 10 good bills than 100 okay ones. And I'd rather have 10 bills that be passed into law than 100 that aren't at all. But with regard to that, and with what you said of how I think I want people to remember me, I think it's just someone who, number one, above all else, Congress is a collegiate body, and you have to represent and fight for the institution. And you will always get told, and I was always told during my time as a staffer here, is that you must always protect the institution first. And I think I would like to be remembered as someone as that. Someone who protected the institution, someone who fought by the institution, and someone who did the institution proud by being an efficient and I guess humble lawmaker.
Okay. So out of the 10 bills that you filed already, what would be the priority for you?
Well, the first one, the
guide.
guide, because I was actually in the Go Negosyo event last night. But you know, MSMEs make up the majority of the businesses in our economy, which means they were also the hardest hit, and they still are the hardest hit. And even if we are enjoying, I think, upwards of 7.5% GDP, that doesn't necessarily mean that the growth translates to that sector of the economy. So the guide bill aims to give, I think, 10 billion pesos to DBP and Land Bank as loan credit for the MSME sector. So that, I think, would be one of the priorities. Not just of the Congress, but of course, as we saw with our president, it's also one of the priorities of the executive.
Yes.
Assisting our MSMEs. So hopefully, we can get that through as quick as possible so that there's access to credit within that sector of the economy. And above all else, even if they don't feel that 7.5%, I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying they might not. I need to study it further. But even if they do, that 10 billion multiplies into jobs, into work, into innovation that sometimes can't be quantified by an amount. So it's important to support that sector of the economy. So to answer your question, that would be one of the priorities.
And I think there's also an aspect in your bill that's very important, a unified program, because
Yes.
these lending institutions have their own separate programs for assistance to various sectors of the
Yes.
economy.
Yes.
And so you wanted
It
a
would
more
be
focused intervention by this.
It would be a unified program for the MSME sector. I think there's much still to be done. I filed the bill, so it's in its infancy, so to speak. It's been filed, and it will still have to go through the processes of the House and that of the Senate. And I think while that is happening, we have to speak to the stakeholders, we have to speak to the MSMEs, we have to speak to the lending institutions to really solidify that framework and make sure that all stakeholders are pleased with what comes out.
Okay. Really interested in House Bill number 20 or the apprenticeship bill. What does this bill want to achieve and who will benefit from this?
Well, the Apprenticeship Act, first of all, is was filed in order to make some changes into some chapters of the Labor Code of the Philippines.
Okay.
It's in order to create a more robust employment framework for the economy moving forward. A lot of the problems that lie within our economy are not just in unemployment. Unemployment is a very big part of it, but a large part of it is also underemployment. Underemployment happens as a result of a mismatch in the available jobs and what the job seekers or the job market is qualified to do.
Yeah.
Meaning they have to settle for jobs that they aren't necessarily experts in, which results in limited productivity. So the Apprenticeship Act just hopes to institutionalize a framework that will allow for earlier training and more vocational training to people that already know what they want to do. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's from 15 to 18 years old that count as an apprentice. And it's in order to equip our youth with more knowledge of the profession that they want to go into. It is a multifaceted approach. The bill also hopes to give credits. During the apprenticeship program, it hopes to give credits where necessary to the school that you're already enrolled to. Para naman, hindi basta wala yung trabaho mo, di ba? But more than that, I think it's also to instill a good sense of drive, a good sense of motivation for our soon-to-be workforce.
Okay.
And, you know, the Philippines is in this actually very advantageous position in which the population of the Philippines, what we call the rate of dependency. So yung mga matatanda na hindi nagtatrabaho, yung mga bata pa na hindi pa kayang magtrabaho, ay maliliit lamang. The biggest sector of our economy now, or our demography, or our demographics rather, is the 15 to 30 years old.
Okay.
Which means we must take advantage of what we call the demographic dividend. That is when the biggest part of your population are those that can work. Because what happens, if you look at the older economies now, like the UK, Japan especially, you know, karamihan sa mga tao dyan matatanda na. Hindi na sila nagtatrabaho, which means
Retired.
the government is paying for them. You are not giving money to the government. They have to spend a lot on healthcare. They have to spend a lot sa pension nila. That takes out expenditures from what you could be doing, build,
Development.
the different programs, developing the different provinces, developing the different parts of the nations appropriately. So we are in this very good situation that the majority of our population is young and able to work. In order for that to be achieved, they need to be able to work, which means you need to equip them with the necessary tools, with the necessary skills to be able to take on that job market and say, oh, ito available, alam ko, natuto na ako dito, nag-apprenticeship ako dito, nag-internship ako dito. So alam ko na kung paano itong gawin. That way, hopefully, the coming workforce, or the workforce that is coming of age rather, can hit the ground running.
Yes.
And that demographic dividend that we call can be achieved. Because if you look at some of the biggest economies now, they took advantage of that, South Korea especially. So it's malaking bagay pa yan.
So that's going to take cooperation from the private sector, right? And then the schools
Yes.
factor
Yes.
that in their
Yes.
curriculum. or
Ma'am, to
something.
tell you the truth, moving forward, there has to be a cohesive relationship between the private and public sector. What's happened in the past is that I haven't met, I mean, you know, with the exception of some people, but I haven't met a lot, or the majority of people that I've met in the private sector are willing naman to help
Okay.
are willing naman to help, are willing to make sure that our country is in a better situation. Because, I mean, of course, it's probably mutually beneficial to them, but that doesn't mean they're not willing to help. So I think when you say that it needs private sector cooperation,
Yeah, so-
everything needs private sector cooperation. Everything, every bill that you file needs private sector input. Every project will need to have cooperation with the private sector. That's why this administration is going to be so big on PPPs. Public-private partnerships are going to be a foundation of how the Build project of former President Duterte gets continued.
Okay.
So that we can do it at a bigger scale, we can make it more efficient, and we can build upon the success of the last administration.
All right.
Speaking about this bill, ito ba galing from personal experience? Because I understand you have familiarized yourself with the jobs of the different department of your father during his tenure as a senator, and also you worked under your uncle,
yes,
House Speaker Martin Romualdez, in preparation for your future job.
Hindi pa House Speaker, Majority Leader.
Majority Leader, soon to be Speaker.
Wait, sorry, what was your question?
I
Is
think
it
this
something close
bill
to
was inspired by your experience working,
Somewhat,
trying to familiarize
somewhat.
yourself with the
Yes.
legislative work.
Somewhat. It was somewhat inspired by that. But really, the inspiration drew more from the fact that, like I said, we are in this situation in which if we do the right things, we can really benefit from it. And that is that the majority of our population is willing and able to work, and that they are in that age in which the government is not so much spending for them, but your productivity or the things that you do in order to work will be to the benefit of the government. Because they're not paying for your pensions, your healthcare bills aren't as high as when you're, extremely old or very young. So it's more to the point that we have to take advantage of that situation.
All right. Speaking of taking advantage of the situation and doing some reforms, particularly with the job and labor sector. Kasi ngayon mainit din. Ang sabi ng iba, many of the problems we are facing is because of problems with our constitution. So this early, mayroon namang nagpo-propose ng charter change in the Senate, and even here in some lawmakers talking about filing proposal for charter change. What's your thought on this?
I think, for me, it's something that I know a lot of the more tenured, a lot of the more seasoned lawmakers, yung mga talagang magagaling na abogado that are here in the House will be more versed to answer it than I am. What I said when I was asked in the last interview was kailangan ko muna pag-aralan eh. I need to see where the holes are, what the issues are, and I have an idea of it, but I'd rather study it muna, kailangan ko pag-aralan muna bago ko magbigay ng sariling opinion. Ayaw ko naman na magkunwari na alam ko lahat, pinag-aralan ko lahat ng tatanungin mo sa akin tungkol sa House Bill, whatever, ay kabisado ko na dahil hindi naman yan totoo. There's no one that can memorize everything, anything under the sun. And to tell you the truth, my specialty, or what I took on was under the branch of economics, finance, and economic development, and of course, the aspect of human growth. Human development and economic growth. But that's not to say, me being a lawmaker, that I will not take on the issue of charter change. What I am saying is, give me a few weeks to study it muna, and then I can give you my opinion. Because I don't, something as, I don't want to say controversial, but something as heavy,
yes,
and something as serious as changing the Constitution should really be studied and studied thoroughly. And to tell you the truth, even if I have a rough idea of it, I want to have the nitty-gritty really nailed to the T. So until then, I want to, I guess, keep my opinions to myself.
I guess we can leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good tack to take because, charter change is such a divisive topic and issue, and in our society today, canceling, the cancel culture has become so pervasive.
You know, it's, I
do you
don't think it's as divisive. I don't think charter change is as divisive as people make it out to be. I think even people on the opposite side of the political spectrum will tell you that there are certain provisions in the Constitution that have just simply become outdated because of how old it is.
Yes, but
And that's not, you know, there's no denying that because they've come out and said it. What I think is important is that enough due diligence is made to make sure that if the Constitution is ever changed, it is only changed to the point that it has to be changed and not beyond that.
yes,
Which is what I think some people are scared of.
yes.
So I think us as lawmakers have to make sure that we are thorough in studying and analyzing what is the best course of action over the next 6 years.
I agree, because I think a lot of people, because they don't understand the issue as much or they haven't really studied it. So that's why there's that fear or all those issues that they raise. So which causes all those conflict. Which brings me to my next question, which is about cancel culture.
Okay.
All right. So
My favorite.
yeah. So is it okay for you to cancel someone just because they have opposite views?
You know, my opinion on cancel culture is very simple. In instances such as, you know, sexual abuse, rape, you look at some of the instances in Hollywood that have happened, which have triggered cancel culture of certain TV personalities, certain directors, certain actors. That's very understandable. But when you bring cancel culture into the political spectrum and the political discourse that a country is ongoing, it becomes a lazy practice. Because for me, cancel culture is just, you know, I'm too lazy to deal with you. Ayokong intindihan kung saan ka galing. I don't want to understand why you think this way. Instead, dun ka na lang. I'm not gonna talk to you. You're not worth my time. To me, that's not how political discourse works. I found that a lot to do with public service and especially a lot to do with politics is coming to a compromise.
Yes.
It's finding that middle ground where both parties meet and agree. You cannot do that if you say, ay, alam mo, bobo ka lang, ako lang mas magaling sa'yo, dun ka na lang. We are above you, you know, we are above you and your opinion is not worth my time. That's not productive in any way, shape, or form. So I just think it's come about as the result of people being lazy to understand where other people are coming from. I mean, we live in and everyone is guilty of it. You know, we all live in our own echo chamber sometimes. And sometimes, especially in times of elections or political divisiveness, I guess, those echo chambers become reinforced. And it's very easy, if I'm with 10 of my friends who have the same opinion, to tell the other 5 people on the table next to me na my opinion is superior to yours. But what you have to remember is that that's not how you get people on your side. And people will always forgive you for what you say. And they might forget what you've said to them. They will never forget how you made them feel.
I agree.
If you humiliate them, if you put them down, if you talk down on them and be condescending, they will never ever forget that. And when you are in a situation in which it's a game of numbers, the last thing you want to do is push people away. So, you know, I guess kung ganun ang trip ng tao, di pabayaan na lang natin. But for me, I don't know. I think there are more productive ways to go about it than canceling people.
I like that.
That's a very good answer. And in essence, bringing cancel culture to political discourse is against the idea of democracy.
Well, not necessarily. Democracy is all about free speech, and people are allowed to speak freely. But, you know, they can speak freely, but they also have to accept what the consequences of their speeches are. And sometimes the way in which you've spoken is not received in the most positive of ways, and it harbors feelings of I don't want to say sadness, but more frustration. So I think that it's something that has to be worked on. Hopefully in due time, mawawala din yan.
Yeah. And I think that hope reflects the message of your father's for
administration.
unity in the country.
I agree. And I have never seen someone more patient than
Your dad.
my dad. Kung ano-ano sinasabi nila sa kanya, but he always says, just look at the good in people. Wag mo na pag-isipan yung sinabi nila. Even now, nung natapos yung eleksyon, I asked him, so paano na to? I went up to him, I said, paano na to? Itong tao, sa ibang kampo pumunta. Itong tao, itong kandidato. He said, son, the elections are over. Sabihin mo sa kanila kung gusto nilang tumulong, kung gusto nila pagandahin ang ating bansa, yan ang importante. Pagsamahan mo na silang lahat.
Okay, that's the message of your dad. So, how about you? What's your message to your supporters and critics alike?
Supporters and critics alike? Thank you. Well, to the supporters, of course, thank you. Thank you for sticking by me. Thank you for, I guess, having that faith and that belief in me as a public servant, and hoping that I can make a change in this country, in my district, in my province. And to the critics, I hope that I'm given the chance to prove you wrong.
Nice.
Well said.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Congressman Sandro Marcos.
No problem, guys. Thank you for your time.
inviting us here today at your office and for joining Straight Talk on
Thanks,
Daily
guys.
Tribune.
Good luck. Stay safe.
And of course, thank you to our Katribus who joined us today. We